and welcome to episode 269 of Checkpoint Chat. We're back. It's been a long time coming. I'm joined as always by Matthew Figueroa.
I was just cropping my image very
Oh,
quickly
I mean,
because
you were just busy, you know.
just before we
It's
started,
okay.
you just sat up and then it threw things out. It's like, oh, hang on, let me just adjust mouse.
Listen, I'm going to be moving up and
I
down
know.
the
I was
whole
gonna say it
time.
doesn't matter because
It doesn't matter.
inevitably you will either slouch or sit up straight, and then what does it matter actually when people are here to listen to our voices potentially? No one's
True.
watching this podcast with a muted tab.
Well, I mean,
They're
that
just like,
would be a very sad thing to say considering the amounts of effort you go through
I know.
to do this video podcast.
I'd be very sad. Don't do that.
There's no one sadder than you if that is actually the case. But yeah, I'm busy like adjusting my mic levels on the fly here because, you know, whenever you're doing tests on Audacity, this is a little peek
allows.
behind the curtain of podcasting. You're like, oh, I'm so soft. And then you start talking as if you're on a podcast, and suddenly it's like, well, you're just clipping constantly.
And I meanwhile am amazed by the reflection on my glasses. They look a bit blue to you.
I can see it. Yeah,
I'm giving
just a little bit blue.
the anime look.
I can see your levels. I mean, that's kind of nuts.
What's funny, if you are wondering, is that I've got the same frames. I just got new lenses, and I did not know this. My last lenses did not have a blue filter at all.
What? That's crazy.
And I was like, yeah, because when I went to get my eyes checked, the guy's like, well, do you want a blue filter? I'm like, yeah,
Yes.
probably, you know. So I put them on. I had no idea it was like this egregious that you can actually see the blue filter if it's on. It's like everywhere I reflect now, I'm like, oh my God, it's so blue.
Oh, I see what you mean.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess it is like I don't notice it anymore because I've just had it for so long. The thing that used to bug me about blue light filters, and I don't know if this is the case with yours, is that some of the coatings are slightly yellow, and so
Yes.
it like tints color. Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense to me because if you're watching the video podcast, I'm just putting my glasses up and down. If I put my glasses on, things are more yellow, which makes no sense given that the filter is like blue.
I'm not sure how that works.
If you know, like photography, there's I might butcher, is it white balance? I think white balance generally, it's either you upping the blueness or like the yellowness of a picture.
Yes.
Okay, so when I'm putting on my blue filter glasses, I expect things to go blue, but it's going yellow, which makes no sense
actually that
to
kind of
me.
makes sense then because like if you think of like how light filters through things,
Okay, wait, it's
it's
killing
like
the
cutting
blue.
the wavelength. Yeah,
Okay, that actually makes sense. Damn, we just solved this live.
Science.
in my head for the last few weeks, I'm like, this makes no sense. How I'm putting a blue filter on, it should up the blue.
No, it needs to do the exact opposite of that.
I'm dumb. You're right. It's cutting the blue out. That's why things are more yellow.
So that coating used to bug the shit out of me because like it was very noticeable. And so I think on my last pair of glasses, I actually went back and I'm like, hey, like this yellow coating is really annoying. Is there no way to get a coating that filters the blue light but doesn't have the yellowing? They're like, yes, but it's, you know, more expensive and this and that. So I was like, do it. I can't like.
Yeah.
So I got the filter. It was still slightly yellowed, whatever, but it was definitely much better. Now I got new lenses probably the same time as you, like 2-3 weeks ago. And the guy was like, you want a blue light filter, obviously. I'm like, yes. And I was like, please don't give me one that tints the thing, you know, my vision yellow. He's like, oh, well, there's this new coating that's actually like a green film and it basically doesn't alter color at all. He like had a sample there and one with like a blue light and one with this new green lens filter, whatever. And it's like, you can definitely see you put this lens over anything and it doesn't tint the color at all. So it's like, sick, perfect, finally. You know, I'm like, cool, grab that. He's like, okay, it comes from Japan. It's like this Japanese lens brand, whatever.
I was going to joke and say
which is
Japan.
Swiss.
It's like some exotic, faraway place.
it was just like, I was like, oh, it's Japan, it's not Switzerland, you know, the Zeiss lenses are very expensive, whatever. He's like, yes, this one is more expensive. And I was like, okay. And my lenses ended up costing like 8,000 Rand. And I nearly fucking vomited.
Jeez, I nearly vomited right now.
And whenever I tell people this, they're like, oh, do you have bifocals? I'm like, no, I've just got a normal lens. I can just see
colors right.
Yeah, I can see color. This is the price I pay to see colors right. So
that's great.
If you do not have to wear glasses, just know your life is A, better because you don't have these things strapped to your face 24/7, and B, you don't have to pay exorbitant amounts just to see color. So
well, two things. So when I got my filters put in, I didn't ask about the green filter. I'd seen you prior. Then you told us about how you had got your green filters on. So I was going to see how my appointment went to sort of ask. But like in the long run, I'm not phased about, like, personally, I don't really mind if my color's a bit off.
You get used to it as well.
But it was funny because my optometrist is that's like Lenska's family optometrist who they've been going to for years and years. First time I've gone to him. Last time I had my eyes checked was like 10 years ago. Long time. Like, shouldn't have waited that long. But anyways, chatting to him, he's very old school, but then he's saying like, yeah, we'll give you a blue filter. I'm like, okay, cool. He's like, yeah, there's a green filter. It's not as good as a blue filter. Just like a blanket statement. I was like, I didn't say anything. I was like, that's not what I've heard. You'd like given me a whole rundown of like, no, it's this and that. So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just stick with the blue filter. But then
maybe it's just, you know, like you said, he's old school. He knows what he knows.
He's old school. I think he knows what they cost. He was like, don't worry about it. You know, it's cool. But interestingly, because my eyes hadn't been checked for so long, like, it's hard to gauge if my eyes have gotten better or worse. But over the few years, I'm like, they haven't gotten worse, I don't think. But after my appointment, my eyesight has somehow improved very slightly.
What? That's wild.
Which baffles me. I was like, how? So he explained,
your body is healing.
Is it stigmatism?
He's like, were your eyes more slightly oval? That's what I had.
He said, based on my last lenses, the stigmatism, which I didn't know I had, by the way. I mean, when I got my glasses, just straight up, I went in, they said you need, did the test, they said you need glasses, I got glasses.
But they didn't explain.
No, no explanation of anything. It's like your right eye astigmatism completely gone, and your left eye, it's like half better. It's not 100% better, but it's like improved a bit. So I was like, damn, am I Wolverine? Except,
I mean, that's like, a fucking
the slow version. I heal my eyesight over like 10 years.
Maybe in the next 10 years, you won't even need glasses. Your stigmatism will be gone.
I'll be that dude from Mortal Kombat. Is it Kenshi? I'll have a blindfold. I don't need eyes.
You can summon spirits. You can. It's
have like a blade. Like, where did this come from? Yeah, all dead.
Daredevil's like fucking blind, but no one really questions how he does these miraculous things sometimes. You know.
Except
that's pretty cool.
The price I pay is that I still suffer from hay fever. So if I sound a bit sicky, it's spring.
Listen, I'd take it if I could heal my stigmatism. That'd be great. Because it's the first I've heard of that. Because normally they just get worse, and then you end up potentially having to do surgery like I did to prevent it from getting
I don't know. Take it with a pinch of salt. But I was like, damn, okay, if that's true, I don't feel like my eyesight's gotten worse, but that's pretty cool. Oh, what I was going to get to is that he said, because I'm short-sighted, so I can see this absolutely fine. For audio listeners, I've taken my glasses off.
Short-sighted is where you can see
close,
but not
close. So I wear my glasses more for like South Africa when I was driving, whatever, and it just helps me see things further. Things further away become HD or 4K, basically.
Love it. I love that feeling. It's so good.
It's the best. But then he basically told me like, I'm doing my eyes a disservice by wearing my glasses close range, so I shouldn't wear them when I'm working on a computer. And I was like, okay, but then the coating is like, don't stress about it. Like, your eyes have natural filters. It just, the blue coating really helps with that. So I was like, okay, old school man, I will believe you.
Your eyeballs just have a natural blue coat.
I was like, okay. No, like they filter things like that naturally, supposedly.
No, they do.
So I was like, okay, cool. But it's like, I shouldn't be wearing my glasses now. Like, I'm wearing it more out of habit, and I should wear them when I'm like watching TV or being out, whatever.
Something that's
But
slightly far. Yeah.
it is just funny that I'm like, I've just got into the habit of the last 10, 15 years I've worn glasses. I just always have them on, but I am short-sighted, so why do I wear them when I'm reading a book or
That's
on
kind
the
of
computer?
interesting though, because with astigmatisms, you kind of lose vision in both degrees. Like, I think you're worse in one perspective or another, but like I know, at least with mine, maybe just because it's more severe or whatever, but I cannot work in front of a PC without my glasses because I'll just get a headache because I'm straining my eyes, and then I can't drive without my glasses because I can't see far enough. So I'm like fucked either way.
So interestingly, I was exactly the same, and that's why I'm like, maybe something has changed, because when I did get my lenses put in, this is the only set of frames I have. I didn't have a backup pair, so I didn't wear glasses for like 10 days while he had them. I was like, oof, I'm going to get daily
10
headaches.
days.
Yeah, it was quite a while.
Holy
I
shit.
was like, I'm going to get headaches, because I used to. If I didn't wear my glasses, like, oof, my eyes are so sore. But I was like, oh, I'm actually fine. How weird's that? So, I don't know.
It's funny
The
that you
body
say
is
that
weird.
because when I went to my guy, this is optometry central here.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh, okay. Do you have a spare set of frames?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Oh, because we need to keep your frames for like a week to get your new lenses." I was like, "Why? That's never been a thing." I was literally like, I was confused. I was like, "But the last time I got lenses here, I didn't need that." He's like, "Yeah, but we need to get the correct fit and whatever." But I'm like, "But you've got these exact frames in your shop. Like,
Yeah, like just
you can just
measure
get
them
it from
out.
there." He's like, "Oh, right, yeah." And I was like, "What the fuck?" Like, yes, you could just do that. He's like, "Oh, yeah, we've got the exact. Don't worry, we can cut them according to that." I was like, because he's like, "Oh, you don't want to buy a new set of frames so you can have a spare." I was like, "No, these things are fucking
Can I tell you
expensive."
what you
No.
did there? That is your decades of gamer knowledge coming in clutch, because that was just a puzzle in a game you just solved outright. This dude, not a gamer, very confused, like, no, I need your glasses. You just put the solution. You just like, whoa,
Why?
you right. I don't need them. Thank you.
I couldn't believe it. I was just like,
That is
I've
great.
never ever needed a spare set of frames to get lenses fit. Like, it's just, and on top
But
of it, this optometrist there in Melrose, they like one of the only ones that I know of that stock the brand of frames I have. So like, they have a shit ton of them, and that is like the thing that they live and die on, is like selling this brand of frame. It's like, of course you have the specs of these things, and also like, I'm not paying 13,000 rand for a spare set of the same frames. Are you fucking insane? Like, no.
well, before we pivot off this, if you like, what is your eyesight like without your glasses? Are you short-sighted, far-sighted? Well, what
So the
happens when you take your
stigmatism
glasses
fucks
off?
them both ways, but then I
Okay.
think I'm short-sighted as well. Because I know when I went for the test, the guy was like, "Oh, in the one eye your astigmatism got worse, but your short-sightedness was the same, and in the other eye it was the exact opposite." So I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, that's
You're like,
strange."
okay, so the stigmatism reversed and my eyesight improved? Like,
Yeah, listen. This is probably also why my lenses were expensive, because each lens is like correcting a different thing. I don't know. Like, listen, if you have good 20/20 vision eyeballs, I envy you. I was like that for a very long time. It was only at varsity where I started needing glasses, and I miss it. At first, it's like very novel. You're like, "Ooh, glasses, cool. Frames, ooh, style, ooh." And now it's just like, I get to the end of the day, my eyes are tired, my nose is tired because it's just had glasses on it the whole day. I also miss the days of being able to wear headphones without uncomfortability. Like,
yeah, because it does
it's always
bite
just
into
like, no
the...
matter how many headphones you get, how many light headphones I get, like, yes, some are really good and they're better than others, but there's always this feeling of a slight pressure, because there's a piece of fucking plastic or metal that's not meant to be there, and it's very annoying. I hate it.
Well, there you go. That's optometry.
I'm just
101.
very glad I can do things like the two oceans or running without my glasses because
Oh,
Shani
yeah.
can't, and that seems way worse.
Lenska's the same. She has to wear contact lenses or her
It
glasses.
seems horrendous. Like I'm
Yeah.
glad that I can at least see well enough to do exercise without having to fog up my glasses because
Yeah.
no, not a great time.
Yeah.
Checkman chat. We talk about video games and glasses for nearly 18 minutes. It seems like
15 minutes.
crazy,
Yeah.
crazy. It's not like we have a ton of games to get through because we've been away for a month. So, on that note, it's going to be some rapid fire ones very quickly before we get to the meat and potatoes of this podcast.
Damn.
British humor.
Okay. No one
I
says
don't
that
know,
here.
meat and potatoes. Are you sure you don't go into a pub and they're like, you want some meat and potatoes?
Maybe
like,
some
no.
fish and chips.
Yeah, some
Meat
mushy
and potatoes.
peas.
My God.
got such a good
Everyone just
UK
walks around
accent.
around the UK going, oh, yes, meat and potatoes.
Yes, exactly. It's just like in South Africa. Everyone walks around and they're like biltong and boerewors, and you're like, yes, definitely.
So lacquer.
So lekker. How weird was it not walking into a store and having everyone just assault you with the word higher all the time, you know?
Oh, my God. Do you want to pivot again? We can talk about my trip to South Africa. Yes.
Yes,
Let me
let's
tell
go.
you,
Let's
no,
do it.
ain't no place like South Africa in terms of friendliness.
True that.
Everyone in South Africa is the bomb. Good example, running in the UK. I've run here for a long time now, and I fast learned. No one gives a fuck about you running. No one will even look at you or acknowledge that you're running in the same pathway.
Oh, they don't like
Everyone-
say good morning or
Everyone
anything
is just
like that.
on their own mission. Whereas South Africa ran a couple times. People either say morning to you or they give you the, the the nod.
I love that classic nod. You're just like,
Or like, yo, we on this journey together, or like a thumbs up, whatever. That happens in South Africa. It's just, I haven't traveled to every country on the planet, but it always warms my little heart to go to South Africa and feel the warmth there, which you definitely do not get here. And I'm not even talking about the sun. before
fair,
you crack that joke.
To be fair, at least in the times that I've been in the UK, I'm not saying people are unfriendly, but they're not as friendly as South Africa.
No. Unfriendly. Yeah, it's not
very
unfriendly.
nice
It's
there,
just It's just it's different when there's just like, for lack of explanation, there's just like a warmth that comes with South Africans where you can go to a spa and the cashier will have something nice to say to you, or just whatever. Like it's just a vibe, I guess.
I guess it depends. I mean, this is sort of like a meme locally, but it's like if you go to Checkers is a bit different now to a degree, but you go to like a spa or a Pick and Pay or whatever, the sort of demeanor you get from the tellers there is very different to what you get at like a Woolworths. And listen, I'm not disparaging anyone. That job seems like shit. I would probably be as grumpy if I was in that, but there is a definite difference. And I just think it's quite funny. It's like you go to Woolworths, you are spending money and you're getting top tier teller experience.
The premium experience.
That's why I feel quite offended when I go to Woolies and the teller experience is not great. It's like, sure, this job is shit. You are having a bad day, but I came to Woolworths.
Yeah, like, come on.
I came here for a purpose. You know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, my sister just got back from Dubai. And like, it was one of the first things she said. She was like, everyone there is so amazed at how friendly South Africans are. And I'm just doing normal shit. I'm like not, trying to be any more friendly than I normally am. And it's just like, I think that's just our culture. We are quite friendly.
Yeah, that's how we are, I think.
I did laugh at in the UK because you walk into a store, I mean, you'll know this, and everyone goes like, hiya, like, hi, how are you? Almost in one word. And I would often go, hi, I'm good, thanks, and you? And they'd have no clue how to respond to that. Because they are not prepared to be asked
that is a rookie mistake. You're walking, go, hey, how's it going?
And they're just like, and I'm
what
all
do you
right,
want? Like,
cortado, please. It's like you are holding me up with this 10-second exchange. It's very funny. The UK's great.
Love to see it.
Video games, yes. So while we were away, we were both obviously traveling. We were in Cape Town around the same time, and only saw each other after a grueling marathon. It was a lot of fun. But usually when I travel, I always take something gaming with me, and now I have the choice between like a Steam Deck or a Switch. And I was just like, you know what, the Steam Deck, bit bulky. I haven't given love to my Switch in a very long time. And Shani's like, you don't give me love either, but you know.
Like that's beside the point.
Yeah. And you know, with the Switch 2 coming out, we should chat about impressions of that as well. But the Switch 2 coming out, I'm like, listen, let me get to a few things here that I, you know, haven't had the chance to get to. And I usually, like I do, I pick a game when I go away to kind of just, this is the game I'm going to play when I have an hour or two spare.
Yeah.
And this time I chose Metroid Prime Remastered, which funnily enough was the last like game that I tried to play when I was in Cape Town. And I just kind of like fell off of it. So I started it from scratch. It turns out I'd only played like an hour and a half last time, which is crazy. I thought I'd played a lot more. And I ended up finishing it because it's actually not that long. It's like, it's sort of like Metroid Dread. It's like 10 hours or so.
Oh, no, say no more.
Yeah, it's totally like a thing you can finish in a couple of days. Perfectly paced, in my opinion. Doesn't overstay its welcome. And you know what? This game fucking rules, man. Like, I get it now. People talk about Metroid Prime as this big flashpoint for the series and this big Nintendo title. And I totally get it. This game is just so cool. When I first tried to play it, I hadn't played Metroid Dread, so maybe having Dread, you know, kind of pushed me through this. It's definitely not as, I think, difficult as Metroid Dread. Like, Dread got fucking hard with some of those boss fights, and this is more like it's an action and exploration game. You if you're watching the footage now, you actually scan a lot of things. So a lot of puzzles, you get into a room and you're like, well, how do I get out of here? And it turns out you need to go into like your visor scanning view and scan a console to unlock a door or learn something new for the story. So you're scanning a lot of stuff. There is combat, of course. It doesn't feel like the focus point of the game. A lot of it is exploration, finding out where to go, exploring these big interconnected maps, and just, you know, the core loop of a Metroid, not a Metroid, but like a Metroidvania, finding upgrades, going back into previous areas, using those upgrades to unlock new spaces to explore, and you know, et cetera. And I think there's a good cadence of unlocking new stuff and unlocking interesting stuff, and then being like, oh, cool, yes, I know now of the 5 places I need to go to check this shit out. And I don't know if this is a thing that they changed for the remastered version or whatever, but if the game kind of detects you're kind of not sure where to go, like, for example, if I've spent like 20 minutes or half an hour like kind of fumbling through areas and not really figuring out where to go, it will ping the map and be like, hey, there's this anomaly or whatever in this area. You should go check it out. And it kind of just like shows you an area of a map and is like, you should maybe go look at something here. And that is a gentle nudge into here's where you need to progress for the main path again. Which I kind of appreciated because, you know, these games can get a bit overwhelming with remembering where everything is. And I think it's something that Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown actually solved really well with its like the whole snapshot thing you could do. So yeah, I think it allows you to play the game at a brisk pace while also feeling like you're making dynamic progress. You know, yourself naturally progressing through it. And I think, yeah, I finished it within a week. It was great. I had a really good time. I think the last boss is absolute bullshit. Because it's like a fucking 3-phase boss, and if you die, you start from the first phase, and these phases feel like grinds because you don't do tons of damage. It's that last boss really kind of soured the ending for me, but other than that, really good game. I
wonder,
really phenomenal time.
If that feature you spoke about where it like gently nudges you, if that was in the original, because it's the sort of thing where I think it wouldn't exist back in this games. launch era.
I agree. I
where,
think that's something they added.
you just have to fumble your way through. So not verified, but it does strike to me very much, late to 2020s quality of life improvements.
Nintendo does do this with their sort of re-releases. I mean, this was a while ago now, but The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, when it got the remake re-release on the 3DS, I know the big change there was you got a notebook. I think it was called the Bomber's Notebook, whatever. But it basically lets you track what you wanted to do in a day, or like core things you wanted to do in each cycle, so that you had like a game plan going into each new day, which wasn't present on the old version. So it was kind of confusing as to what you were busy with or what objectives you still needed to complete, and that made a massive difference to that game. So a lot of these quality of life things, I think it's smart that they retain the original feel of the game. I think Metroid Prime Remastered is borderline a remake in terms of visuals, but they've kept the core exploration and the core combat feel, but just added the little things that make it a bit more palatable for a modern audience, and I appreciate those sorts of things. So I think you'd have a really good time playing this.
I need to get to it.
Yeah, having played it now, Metroid Prime 4, I'm super excited now, because that just seems like more of this, and I'm so down for it.
And you know that they are going to do 2 and 3 at some stage. They have to.
Yeah, I mean, good old Jeff Grubb at Giant Bomb, or I guess not Giant Bomb anymore. He said for the longest time that 2 and 3 were ready to go. They weren't as big overhauls as this one, but that they were going to be released on Switch, and that still hasn't happened. So maybe they'll just do it on Switch 2, something like that. It is kind of weird that they haven't done it before Prime 4 is coming out, but Metroid Prime Remastered was a shadow drop. They announced it at a direct, and it was like, it's out today. So they could fucking do that before. They could do it whenever. It's a good time. I think you'd really enjoy it, knowing how much you enjoy Dread. And how much you enjoy Metroidvanias in general.
It's on the list of never-ending games to play.
Other than that, played a bit more Assassin's Creed. Still enjoying that game on my own terms. I don't think I'll ever finish that game, which I'm totally comfortable with, because I just don't really care much for the story. But I am enjoying when I get an itch to be like, ooh, I want something to just kind of turn off my brain and play and go stab some people, have some good action fun. I gravitate towards Shadows, and I play like a few hours, and I do some of the like boss bases, for lack of a better term. And it's just fun, I'm not really caring about the loot that they have. I don't think it's worthwhile, but just the act of, ooh, let me sneak in here and kill these Daisho or the big samurai dudes and get around stealthily, or just go, swords blazing with Yasuke. It's a good fun time, and I think it's serving that purpose in my life. And I'll never get to like 40, 50 hours on this game, but it's
what do you mean?
No, fuck that. No ways. I don't even think I've unlocked like half the map. I'm like in Kyoto and still like exploring that area and
doing your thing.
Good time. But other than that, like, I think it's cool that you can have a game that you can go back to like that and just get the fix that you want and kind of like let it go, What have you been? I know you said you've not played as much, because I mean you were traveling here, you were visiting a lot of family, so understandable.
Yes, I mean I've been doing some sweet traveling, but what I had to play with me, well, obviously I had my Switch with me, and I just so happened to have a fresh copy of Xenoblade Chronicles X.
The oven.
What is it remastered? Is it definitive edition? Who the hell knows? So this is basically a remastered, I guess it's kind of like Metroid Prime, which you just spoke about. It's kind of just like revisiting an older game, although this is nowhere near as old as the original Metroid Prime. I think Xenoblade Chronicles X came out like 10 years ago, 2015.
I think it was on the Wii U.
It was on the Wii U, yeah. So I think it's one of those games that was just, as a result of being on the Wii U, was just kind of missed. I think the Wii U is home to a lot of good games that were just completely forgotten about, because that console just did not sell the numbers that Nintendo hoped. So this is, I guess, another opportunity for Nintendo to put it into the hands of new players on the Switch. And yeah, if you don't know anything about the Xenoblade franchise, there are these big open world JRPGs kind of functioning like, I've come to learn now, having played Xenoblade 1 and the more recent Xenoblade 3, they're kind of just open world they're open world single player MMORPGs, if that makes sense. It's like it's an MMORPG without all the other players, because it functions very similarly in terms of combat. So if you're watching the footage that we are showing, you aren't necessarily like dodging or rolling. You encounter an enemy and then you just have a lot of spells or commands to execute while spacing yourself or moving to certain parts of the enemy. So for example, if you want to do a certain attack that does more damage from behind, you have to maneuver to behind the enemy to do that. But
so they auto attack.
They auto attack. Yeah, you control your primary party. You control a character in this game, and you can cast all the spells you see on the screen there. Well, spells, abilities, whatever you want to call them. But your actual attack, it auto attacks. Your party members, they do their own thing. You're just there to space yourself and maneuver, whatever. And it seems very simple. There is a lot of depth though, and it is very, very satisfying. It's weird because when I first started playing the game, it does the Xenoblade / JRPG thing where it just front loads so much information. I feel like this game, particularly compared to the first and the third one, it was just like information overload. Even I was like, well, hold on, like what is going on? Like what am I meant to be doing? Whatever. But I've only put in about 10 hours now, which is, it's baby numbers for a game like this. I think
a whole Metroid Prime.
Yeah, a full playthrough of this will probably take like a minimum of 70 hours. And I'm guessing, I mean, I think if you mix a bit of mainlining and doing side quest stuff, like you're looking at 100 plus hours, no problem. I think now that I've wrapped my head around the systems, which I know are going to keep expanding because I'm still like early days. I'm really enjoying it and I want to put more time into it. It's weird though because like I've only engaged with the Xenoblade franchise purely because we've got review copies, and I've actually really started liking the franchise. Like I really loved 3, which I played last year, the year before. That's the last entry in the franchise, and they really good games. Like I understand the praise this franchise gets now, but weirdly this one, in terms of story particularly, it's the only one in the franchise, to my understanding, where you get to make your own character and name them, but your character's not voiced. It does the Gordon Freeman thing where you just like you just don't talk. You've got options to talk, to respond to people in terms of dialogue options, but you never hear your character talk or engage, and it's just weird. It makes the narrative feel a bit strange to me. Like you're just this empty husk walking around with no real personality, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like an old RPG trope, you know, like.
Yeah, like I think this was one of the things they're trying to do differently. Like, cool, we're gonna put the power in players' hands. We're not gonna give them a set cast of characters. We'll let them create their own. But then the takeaway is that you'll hear your character shout commands in combat, but actual cutscenes and stuff, like you don't talk. It's just people talk at you, and then every now and then, like I don't know if there are any long-term ramifications with your dialogue choices, or if it's just a flavor thing. But for example, you'll go to this your home base, and somebody will be like, "Hey, like how did the mission go?" And your option would be like, "Act tough," or say it was like a disaster. I'm like, okay, like you choose an option, then the dialogue pops up, and the person responds to you, but you don't actually hear your character talk, and it's just like it's a weird choice to me. But I mean,
that is odd.
Yeah, but yeah, I still need to sink my time into this game. It's gorgeous. I think this is the game where you look at this and you look at Pokemon and you go, why does Pokemon not look like this? Because
I mean, this game was renowned even on Wii U for like, getting as much as it could out of that system. It apparently looks phenomenal.
Yeah, there are like, if you look very closely at a texture, you go like, oof, that's not very sharp. But when you're out in the open world, if you compare this to just any Pokemon game, particularly the recent ones, you're like, what is going on that, Pokemon games cannot look like this? So I don't know what sorcery this team does, but if you're looking at the footage now, like, it's this beautiful big open world, and it's very enticing. You want to run around and do everything.
Yeah, it's very expansive. It just looks like a big world.
But yeah, that's why I get that whole MMO vibe where it just feels like this huge open space you can run around in. And there are, in this footage, the player party is level 8, and they're fighting a level 8 enemy, but it's not uncommon to run around and be like, oh god, like there's a level 50 enemy, I have to come back to them, many hours down the line to come fight this boss, whatever. It just makes me feel like I'm running around in an MMO, but with the benefit of I can play it alone in my own time. There's a lot to dig into in terms of the systems and stuff, but yeah, I need to. 10 hours is like nowhere near enough to really, I've like barely sunk my teeth into this game, but I am enjoying it thus far. It's grown in me despite the information front loading, because it was a lot. So there's just so much going on here. But I'm very keen to keep playing it.
Yeah, it's the one I remember, I got into the Wii U quite late in its life cycle because, like, Splatoon came out and I was suddenly like, ooh, that looks cool. And then I grabbed a Wii U and suddenly all these games are open to me. And it was the one, I had a colleague I was working with at the time that was super into this game, into the series. And I didn't understand that this one was like almost pseudo like a spin-off because it takes place in a completely different time period and stuff. So I just thought Xenoblade was this game with mechs and this over-the-top action and whatever. And turns out this is almost like an anomaly, but in a good way. It's some people's favorite Xenoblade, despite being so different.
Yeah, there are mechs in the game, which I don't know. I don't know much about the actual game itself, but I'm pretty sure you do get to pilot mechs later on. I think that is like what sets this game apart from the rest of the franchise, because you ain't piloting mechs in 1 or 3, not to my knowledge. So yeah, but I'm definitely going to keep chipping away at this. I'd love to. I don't know if I'll finish it before the Switch 2 launches, but I'm going to try my absolute best. To get through this.
Must look good on that OLED as well.
It looks good. Yeah, it's a weird thing because I think initially when you launch the game and you play it, it looks a bit rough. And I remember the same with Xenoblade 3. I was like, there's something about the resolution or the frame rate. It just didn't look right to me. But after like an hour or two, you're like, oh yeah, this is adjusted. It looks good, plays well. This must have been great on the Wii U. So I'm glad more people are getting to enjoy it on a console that has a much larger install base.
Yeah, and I'm sure it will be backwards compatible on Switch too, and then you'll have an even bigger screen to enjoy that. And I'm really curious to see if games with unlocked frame rates, which is a lot of Nintendo games. I mean, like the Link's Awakening remake, and what is that other one? There's a bunch that run at like slightly erratic frame rates, like they target 60.
Thinking of Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah, Echoes of Wisdom, that's the one. I'm wondering if, because those frame rates are unlocked inherently, that just playing them on a system that can run them better will immediately make them run smoother.
I hope so.
You know what I mean? That
else you're just straight up paying for $10 upgrades.
I mean, I guess with Zelda, it is targeting 30 and still doesn't hit that half the time. So now if they're going to unlock it to 60, it's like a different mode, so to speak. I don't know.
Yeah.
Listen, $10, not terrible.
No, not terrible, but yeah.
It could have been way worse considering the prices of games, but turns out now that Nintendo was just the first to act on that, and like Microsoft and Sony are going to have $80 games now too, and more expensive consoles. So thanks, America. Thanks.
Yeah. Great.
Thanks.
Great.
Anyway, what a mess. What a mess.
What else?
It's not a mess though.
Do tell.
Clair Obscur Expedition 33.
Nice.
That game. Holy shit! What a
game. Came. I don't want to say left field because I know it was on my radar because of I can't remember you so much. Maybe Badmere. I know Darren was very excited for this game.
I think. Go for it.
No, I was going to say, I know one of the characters is voiced by Ben Starr. Good
Mm-hmm.
Paul. Good guy, Ben Paul. Ben Starr. And there was a comparison at some stage. I could be misremembering this, but some thing, I don't know if it's the game director, somebody saying like Final Fantasy VIII is their favorite game. And
I think it's 10.
I think Dan was like, yes. I'm
I
locked in.
think it's 10. Like Final Fantasy 10 is a big inspiration to this game, apparently.
Why do I think it was 8?
I know Ben Starr loves
I
Final
know he
Fantasy.
loves 8, but why do I
Yeah.
think... I'll look it up while you tell me about this game.
I think it's definitely 10. I remember hearing it
No,
quite
not
recently, actually, but
not the actual combat, but I think there was something about like the game director also saying like Final Fantasy 8 is their favorite Final Fantasy, and Darren was like, yes, I'm locked in. This is the game I'm going to play now. Anyways, that is a whole sidebar.
I mean, this game popped into my radar. So firstly, it's not Microsoft published, which is kind of odd. I always thought it was, but it turns out it's just on Game Pass, and that's why it got so much press as well.
Yeah.
Very smart, because as soon as I saw this game and its very Persona-ass menus for its turn-based combat, I was completely in, just from that perspective. But it turns out there's a lot more going on than just like turn-based combat with a great UI. So it is one of the most interesting and active turn-based combat systems I've ever played. And I think a lot of people can be quite reductive and be like, oh, this is just like the Mario and Luigi games, you know, the Mario RPGs, where it's like you're turn-based, but you can press like keys or for quick time events with certain timing to do more damage or whatever. And yes, that is true. I do think it is a much deeper system than what's present in the Mario games. So
yeah,
firstly, you play with a party of characters that all have different affinities and abilities. They each have a sort of like gimmick to them. So, for example, Gustav, who's like your main protagonist, he has this ability called Overcharge, which, depending on the number of charges you've stacked up, does more damage. And you gain charges by doing basic attacks. Any hits on an enemy basically give you a charge. So attacks that do like 3 hits in a turn give you 3. On top of that, if you dodge or parry attacks, you also add to this charge. So you can pretty much get this thing going within like 2 turns with like a maximum of 10 charges and do like a mad amount of damage. That's his sort of like thing. Then you've got Mael, who has a whole different, much more complicated gimmick to her. So she essentially does attacks and can change between 3 stances. So doing a certain or using a certain ability at the end of it, she'll be put into, say, an offensive stance, which lets her do 50% more damage, but also means she takes 50% more damage. And then another attack will put her into a defensive stance, which reduces damage and also gives you more AP points when you dodge or parry. And you're kind of like each turn kind of going, okay, I want to do this attack, but I know the next turn I want to do this more powerful attack, so I want to end my current turn in an offensive stance and take a risk on potentially taking more damage before that happens, but then doing more damage when I get there, stuff like that. And you're kind of chaining together things. Like, you've got Luna, who is a mage, and she does all sorts of elemental damages, but she stacks, like, certain spells will give her these sort of, like, glyphs. So doing a fire spell will give her a like red glyph, and then other abilities will be like, oh, it consumes red glyphs to do more damage, or consumes 2 blue glyphs to do this effect. You know, like I think one of hers is like, if you do this ability, I can't remember which one it is, and you've got 2 blue glyphs, then you can take your turn immediately again afterwards. And you can kind of chain together things where like, oh, if an enemy is burning and you're using Mael, if you do this attack and the enemy is burning, then you'll actually go into this third very, very hectic stance, which lets you do like 200% damage. And if you do this ability while in that stance, then you can actually stay in the stance for an extended period of time. There's all these synergies between the characters in your party where you can chain up some really interesting combos, but at the same time, you're facing enemies who all have a variety of different defenses and resistances, and so you're constantly having to rethink in what order you're going to engage them in and how you're going to synergize between your party members. You're not just trying to exploit an elemental weakness. You're actually trying to see how you can best set everyone up to do a big chain of damage in a single turn.
Yeah.
So that's a really big. I think it's really cool because it's not your standard like RPG classes. You kind of have to work between the lines of all these characters and their specific combat abilities. But then on top of it, you have this active element where every attack sort of has these quick time events where you can hit. It's actually just one button, but you hit it with certain timing and you do more damage. That is sort of like pretty basic. The more engaging part is when you're on the defensive. So this game feels almost like Sekiro in a way, where you have a dodge and you have a parry, and the windows are obviously bigger on a dodge and very, very tight on a parry. And so you can parry any attack that an enemy puts onto you, but they all come in with very odd timing. So they do the Dark Souls thing of doing a very slow swing, a very slow build up, and then like immediately like punishing you on a fast attack. And you kind of have to figure out the timings of different attacks and identify which attacks are coming your way so that you can effectively parry them. And if you parry all the attacks in a certain string, you'll do a very powerful counter attack on enemies. Some enemies actually like require you to do that. They won't take traditional damage. They only get exposed if you kind of do parry damage to them, which is kind of neat. But then you've got enemies that like mix things up where you can parry certain attacks and then they'll do like a jump attack, which you then need to press jump to avoid, and then press like a trigger button while you're in the air to actively counter attack them. It's just this really cool melody of it feels like Sekiro, where it feels like a rhythm game to an extent. You're looking at attacks, you're timing your parries because they do come with a certain rhythm to them. And, you know, it means you can do like complete no-hit runs on certain battles because if you parry everything, you just don't take damage.
Nice.
And it just feels so good. It's been tuned to like perfection in my opinion. Battles feel very dynamic because like you're constantly learning new enemy attack patterns, and then you're working out how to synergize between your characters to take, you know, the best action during your turns. And it feels like the game wants you to engage with combat as well, because you played Metaphor, ReFantazio, and a lot of RPGs of this ilk. You're kind of limited to your exploration of dungeons based on how much mana you have. Because at least in Metaphor, and this is the same for most Persona games, as soon as you are kind of like tapped out on mana, you have to leave the dungeon and come back a new day. Expedition 33 doesn't have a mana system like at all. It's just AP points, so action points while you're in combat, and when you're out of combat, the only thing you need to manage is your health. And your health is replenished as you reach each kind of like new. It's like a bonfire in Dark Souls. You get to a bonfire, you rest up, you get all your charges back on your healing flasks, and you heal up everyone in your party, and all the enemies around you reappear. They like repopulate and reproc. So it is incentivizing you to just get into combat as much as possible rather than like managing this resource and choosing your battles and coming back to fights another day. And it's kind of refreshing, and I think this game's just like really, really good from that perspective. The story is also quite interesting. It's set in a sort of, I don't know, it's set in France, although they don't call it France. It is very French. It's got an Eiffel Tower, and all the characters speak French. So, but you're basically stuck in this loop where there's this character called the Paintress, and every year, I think, she paints a number on this like island out in the distance. It's like a number that decreases by 1 every year. And when she paints that number, everyone of that age dies, like immediately.
Oh, hectic.
It's very, very hectic. The opening's quite sad because you basically see parents with their children, and their children know exactly what's going to happen. They're going to lose their parents on this day, and there's these whole agencies which are like ready to take in these orphans essentially every year and
hectic.
have people mentor. It's hectic. It's like when you think about it as a concept, it's quite a like if you were living in that sort of scenario, it's rough. And the fact that it's getting younger and younger every year, you can see fate coming at you a lot quicker than it should, you know? And so every year they send out expeditions of basically people who will die in the next year to try and see if they can stop this cycle, like try and figure out how to stop this. And so you're part of Expedition 33 because you are now it's 30 the year that's been painted is 33. So your characters are basically going to die within the next year.
Fuck, that's you. Aren't you 33?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're 32. You're gonna turn 33.
Okay.
Oh no, you're talking about me. Yeah, I'd
yeah,
be
you.
dead. Yeah, and I just turn into ash, and that would be it.
Nice.
It's kind of cool because you pick up these journals from past expeditions. So it will be like Expedition 68 or Expedition 50, and you can piece together like the more expeditions go out, the more they're learning, the further along they're getting.
Yeah.
But they still don't know how to stop the cycle. And so you're sent on this essentially a suicide mission because you have no idea if you're going to succeed or if you're coming back. And the whole goal is to just discover as much as you can, leave it for the people who come after. It's a phrase that they utter a lot, is like they are doing what they're doing so that others can live on. They know that they are kind of a lost cause, and it's good. I think the acting is really good.
Premise.
The story premise is very, very interesting. And it balances like these very like tragic and sad moments with some moments of levity as well. It's just really, really well balanced. And the voice acting is phenomenal. I mean, you said you've got Ben Starr there, but you've also got Andy Serkis. You've got Charlie Cox, who is, Daredevil in the Disney series. Just all around the cast is really good, and it's just as a complete package, a really, really solid game. It is far and away my favorite game I've played this year, and I'm just itching always to get back to it.
Yeah,
so
I've
put in like
very keen to
15
start.
hours. It's like 15, and apparently it's like 30 to 40 hours. It's not like super long. So yeah, I'm having a great time, and I think when you get around to it, you're gonna immediately pick up on what I'm saying. It's
when
good.
I can find it, like now that I'm back and settled this week, and when I'm not playing not new games, I've got this on my list. Definitely, I've got it downloaded, ready to go. Because I think I'll thoroughly enjoy a game like this. I mean, just to go back to earlier, so I wasn't. It wasn't a fever dream. So on the wiki page, according to the producer Francois Marie, the game drew inspiration from Squaresoft's Final Fantasy 8, 9, and 10 in particular, while the dodge and parry mechanics were influenced by From Software's Sekiro. Say no more.
Oh, so actually they do mention Sekiro. Yeah. Okay, cool. That's interesting. I didn't know that they had actually mentioned that. It felt very Sekiro-like. So
yeah.
Okay.
There's something. Darren can correct me, but I don't know how far the Final Fantasy 8's influence goes, but I know Final Fantasy 8 had I think it was unique to most Final Fantasies, where I think if you attacked a Squall, the main character, if you pushed like R1 or something at a specific time, he did more damage. Interesting. And it was funny because back then it was like it's a simple thing, but it's a very engaging thing as opposed to you just hitting like, training an attack command, as you like trying to prompt this active more damage thing every time. So I wonder if, I mean, that's like a very basic example, but I wonder if they looked at that like how do we expand this and, take turn-based combat to, make it even more engaging by including all these other layers on top of it. And from what you've described to me, it sounds like what they've done is very clever. And I think what's really cool to see is that this game surprised a lot of people. Like, I think I was expecting it in like the 80 territory. Like, it looked good. I was like, yeah, it's going to be like a pretty good game. I was not expecting it to be like one of the highest scoring games of the year.
Yeah, I know. Same. I mean, looking looking at it, pre-release, I was like, I think I'm gonna vibe with this game.
Yeah.
It's got the flair of a Persona, and it looks like it's got an interesting premise, and it looks really cool visually. I did not expect, within the first hour to be like, oh, this is a whole different thing.
Yeah.
Personally, just so surprising in that it wasn't entirely what I was expecting it to be, but in the best way possible. And yeah, it's really cool to be surprised by that, because I feel like that doesn't happen too often anymore, where a game can completely like sweep you off your feet in a way that you weren't expecting. Yeah, it's great. I mean, for the studio, for this to be their first game, it's just unbelievable. And I honestly cannot wait to see where they go from
Yeah,
here.
what do they do next? Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I don't know how you follow up something this phenomenal. There's something really cool that I think you would quite like, because I've seen a lot of people say this is sort of how Final Fantasy used to approach open worlds. But so each level you're in is quite linear. It's like it's almost like a hub where you definitely have like a critical path, but you can take little avenues here or there to find certain resources, optional battles or stuff like that. I do wish there was a mini map, because some of it becomes a bit confusing, but that's a very small criticism. But when you're out of these hubs, you're exploring like the overworld and moving from one hub to the next. And it's almost like your characters are giants in a bigger open world. So you are actively moving between these two. You're exploring the space. It's very limited, but you're covering a lot of distance in a very short amount of time, and then getting to a hub, and it's like shrinking down into a forest or a ravine, and then you're down there. And I think a lot of people say it reminds them of the airship in Final Fantasy 10, I think it is.
Which one?
Or
So you
even,
back up there.
even 7.
Uh,
Final Fantasy 10 or 7. It's kind of how they approach their open world design.
Yeah, I don't know. I know. I can't remember Final Fantasy X, but I know all Final Fantasy 1 through 9, you come to a point where you get an airship and you can go anywhere you want in the overworld. So I wonder.
Yeah, I think it's kind of like that. You do get a airship equivalent here eventually, but it's just kind of cool, because it's not trying to be a massive open world with, I think, a lot of superfluous guff in between. It's just like, no, this is a neat little thing you can do to get between the major points in the game. And I saw some people saying they wish Final Fantasy VII Rebirth kind of did something like this, as opposed to what it did. And yeah, I wouldn't be opposed to that, but I think that's why this game is like a 30-40 hour thing as opposed to an 80-hour thing, and I think it might be better off for it.
Well, I mean, just before we bounce off, it's worth remembering the early Final Fantasies. I mean, like, let's just say the original Final Fantasy VII for comparison's sake. That whole game from beginning to end, if you just like did a bit of exploration, but mostly mainline, that was like 20 to 30 hours. It wasn't particularly long, and it is this thing, because you are, like you've said, you navigating this huge globe, but it obviously does this thing of it makes you feel like you're traveling these huge distances, but like very quickly. So it's clever. I think it's very clever design. I mean, to speed things up, and not speed things up, that's the wrong term, to not make this like an 80-hour affair when it doesn't need to be. If it's just this tight, I mean, calling a 30-hour game tight is hilarious, but for an RPG that is very tight, it's like actually kind of short.
I completely agree. And I think that's why this is like surprised me so much, is because it doesn't waste time to get to the things that are fun about it. It's not for a game that's introducing a whole new premise and this whole new world. It kind of does it in a very elegant and very fast way. It doesn't feel like they're skipping over anything, but at the same time not drowning you with 5 hours of exposition. These characters are talking about the events they're experiencing in a very natural way, in a way that doesn't make it seem like, oh, this character is just saying this stuff so that I understand it. And I think, not to get on this whole thing again about Final Fantasy Rebirth, because like I know I didn't enjoy it as much as you and most people, but I do think it is an example of where RPGs have gone, and they're just like, they they've been stretched out for the sake of being stretched out. And I think Expedition 33 is a reversal of that trend. And yes, it's because it's a much smaller studio. It's priced actually accordingly. It's only a $50 game. I didn't know that. And so, again, it's just like this idea of quantity equates to value. And I think, if this game was a full price $60, $70 game, I'd be just as happy with it because it is, from a quality standpoint, up there with some of the best role-playing games I've ever played. So, yeah, I don't know how I go back to a turn-based system that doesn't allow for this active element anymore. Like, I was thinking about playing Metaphor again, and I was like, wow, that just seems so static by comparison now. Which is hilarious because last year I was raving about how Metaphor was a new era for turn-based combat. So, for this team to come out here and do this is just incredible.
Yeah, I think just on Metaphor, that to me, I mean, I haven't played Expedition 33 yet, but Metaphor, I remember playing it at the time, thinking this is like, they've taken all the elements of all the best JRPGs and just made it into one package. So I think we'll have to see what happens. Like, will Atlas look at this kind of game and go like, this is how we should tackle the next Persona or whatever. But I do think Metaphor still stands as like a benchmark of turn-based in terms of like, I'm going to call it like classic turn-based, because I don't know if we'll go back to that. Like, maybe studios are going to look at this and go like, holy shit, we need to follow this. Like, this is this is what happens in gaming. It'll be like one small thing. You're now living through it, and we'll never really notice that, actually, this small change has become like the staple for all games that follow. It's like such a simple, obvious thing. So it's like, of course, add like a parry system. But it took somebody actually doing it in a turn-based game for people to go like, how do I go back to what came before this? It's crazy.
I do think we're living in a sort of like golden age of that, where you have so many different ways for turn-based combat. Like, if you just look at the current landscape, like you said, you've got Metaphor, which is, I agree, it's the peak of that formula. It's, mana management. It's, you've got your classic classes that all do different elemental damage. It is the peak design of that thing, especially with the way it manages turns and half turns. Very cool. Then you've got Final Fantasy Rebirth and Remake, which go in the complete opposite direction, where they still have the classic feel, but it is super active. It is like, it's skirting the line of a action RPG, which, Final Fantasy 16 went well into that direction, but it's got that turn-based feel to it, despite being completely real time. And then I think you've got Clair Obscur here, which threads the needle in the middle, where still turn-based, you're still taking turns, but it's got this active element to it, which makes it feel more reactive and dynamic. And I don't think there has to be just one. I think all three can exist, and all three can be phenomenal in their own right, and I think they will be. And I think it's just such a treat that you can have role-playing games with such variety, where if you go back even just 10 years, everything was either character action or completely static turn-based. So I'm excited to see what other studios learn from this, because I do think you'll start seeing elements bleed into one another, and that's just cool, I think, for people like us who are fans of this style of game. Well, we are living through a really good time for these games.
Final Fantasy 17, does it keep the action-based of 16, or does it take inspiration from the 7 remake? Does it look
I definitely think they're going to claw back some of the role-playing, because, I mean, there was a lot of backlash from the core community over how far removed 16 was from actual role-playing. I enjoyed it.
I loved it. Not a role-playing game by any stretch of the imagination.
It's a great game, but it is not a role-playing game. No question. I think they'll probably go back to something more in line with a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth or Final Fantasy 13 even. And who knows, they could take inspiration from those. I think a 17 that goes back to turn-based but learns to be a bit more dynamic with it would be fucking awesome.
Very good, yeah.
I think it would be like, cool, this is the classic Final Fantasy feeling, but with a twist, you know what I mean? I think it would be, and Square pushed in this direction of more active combat, because they were of the opinion that people don't like turn-based RPGs anymore. You know, they actively did that during development, and 16 didn't sell nearly as well as they wanted to. You've got Metaphor ReFantazio just showing them up, in a way that they thought was not possible. And now you've got Clair Obscur, which, sales-wise, I don't know how it's doing, but the sort of conversation around it is massive. So I think Square could definitely look at this and go, cool, we made a mistake. Let's reevaluate. And I think that would be the best course for Final Fantasy in the future.
Well, I think there was it news this week? Clair Obscur has sold over 1 million copies, like aside from its Game Pass numbers, which is massive for like a small.
In like 3 days, yeah.
Small. I don't know how big the studio is, but it's not a AAA studio. Like that's huge. So
no, and
good
they
for
even
them.
had
the old
President Macron mention it. It reminded me a lot of how Poland was so proud of CD Projekt Red.
The Witcher,
that they gave, I think it was Barack Obama at the time, a copy of The Witcher 3 or The Witcher 2 as a gift when he was visiting. Like, that's cool, man.
What the hell?
Yeah. He's like, oh, I love Geralt. Such a cool guy.
Yeah, it would have been nice if he looked at them and I was like, actually, I'm a huge Witcher fan. Thank you. Like, I had no idea.
It's cool. It's cool when a studio pops up like this and is like the pride of a nation because, I do wonder what Arcane is feeling like because they're like, hey, we've been in Lyon, France for fucking ever. Where's our mention from President Macron?
Going on? Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad this game stuck the landing because it had a lot of expectation going in, but for it to even exceed that expectation is
I can't wait to play
great.
it.
I can't wait for you to play it because I think you're going to completely take to it.
Yeah. Even me.
Good. Yeah. Oh, just as a last thing, that soundtrack, phenomenal. It's
awesome.
Orchestral. It's beautiful. The whole thing is on Spotify. It's 7 hours long. It is just so good. So good. I've listened to it so often and it's top tier. Yeah.
Nice.
Great time.
Say no more. Say no more.
Cool. That's games from my side. I don't know if there's anything else you want to touch on.
I can very briefly say that I've played a bit of Marvel Rivals, played a little bit of Monster Hunter, and both games are still great. Monster Hunter in particular, man. I've come back to some seasonal events. It's like the spring event, and I love that game. It continues to be addictive and silly all in the same package. I mean, a game where I can go fight a huge monster and then go back to this new Grand Hub to watch somebody called the Diva sing is just I'm here for it. I really, really love what they're doing with that game, and I'm very keen to keep playing whatever new content they're going to keep dropping because it's early days.
I know that game is sold like incredibly well. So I have no doubt it's still doing well. They keep putting out content for it. So I know that this is probably a dumb thing, but like, I feel like it's not being spoken about anymore, which seems super weird. But maybe it's just like, the sort of bubble you exist in where, or at least I exist in, where only recent games are spoken about very fondly and, especially stuff that's more live servicey, unless it really permeates through that noise. Kind of just feels like it's forgotten. Like to hear you going back and still having a good time is great because it means that I can still hop back in and probably have a good time. It's not something that's fallen off and Capcom is likely to drop.
No. I think Monster Hunter as well. It's like a Destiny or one of those games, a Fortnite, where it'll just always have a core player base and you might not be aware of it just because you're not engaging with it. Like I'm completely on the same page as you where my news feed is just what's the latest greatest thing at the moment. It is like Clair Obscur, and I know we haven't even spoken about Blueprints, which I really want to play as well.
I really want to play it as well.
But Monster Hunter, like, it's on my radar because I play it. I've got friends who play it, and we all like, yes, let's keep engaging with this content and enjoying the new content updates. And that game just continues to feel good. Like, again, I never played Monster Hunter Worlds, so my only frame of reference is Rise, which was the smaller Switch version. Well, smaller, quote unquote. So to to be along for the ride for this new like main console generation version is just really fun. I'm glad to be a part of it.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, and it's great to hear, like I said, because you never want a game like that to come out and kind of be forgotten. So
No,
to hear that it's still up there and still hitting the sort of notes that you expect from it is,
it's
yeah.
I don't know what it is. It's just so addictive, man. There's something, you can fight the same monsters over and over again, but it doesn't get any less satisfying.
It's a great combat loop. It really is,
it's-
and the depth to its combat is really fascinating. It feels. I think it takes time for those games to click. I mean, it did for me, even with
for sure. It's like a
what was the
huge
one
learning
you said?
curve. Rise.
Oh, it was Rise. Why did I think this one was Rise?
No, this is Wilds.
Wilds. I think it took a while to be like, oh, I can't just mash a button, or I can't cancel out of every animation, or I have to be very purposeful with the attacks I'm doing and the dodges I'm doing. But once you get into that state, it's like a flow state. It just feels so good.
Yeah, like a good example this week, I was playing with good friend John Michael. So him and I are doing a hunt. A very, I can't remember, we were fighting like quite a hard monster. Then one of our friends jumps into Discord, and like sort of more or less the time we started the fight again, we were just chit-chatting. And then like after 20 minutes, we finally got, maybe 15 minutes, but we finally cut this monster's tail off. And I said to my friend, because Monster Hunter is not his game, this friend who joined Discord, I was like, there's nothing more satisfying in the world than spending 15 minutes just targeting one body part for it to finally come off. And he's like, what? I'm like, it's a Monster Hunter thing. Like it only makes sense when you play the game. It's just like, it's such a dumb thing to say. Like, yes, we just focus one thing for 15 minutes, but the whole time we were engaged, and it was so satisfying to finally have that payoff. And that's just Monster Hunter in a nutshell. It's just good fun.
I do think, you either get that and enjoy it, or you don't. And I can see it either way. I think it's the same with Destiny. Like, a lot of bosses, especially raid bosses, you are shooting the same fucking thing for like an hour. And it's like, it either stimulates you because like you're performing at a peak where the smallest mistake means that you fail, or you really just find it a grind. And there are different people for different flavors of games, and but I think Monster Hunter clicks with me in the same way too. Just feels good. Feels good to make a weapon out of that tail too.
It does.
It's great.
It's the best.
Go whack off another tail with someone's tail.
Love to see it. But that's I think that's all I have to talk about this week. I mean, we spoke about a lot actually.
We've been away for a while, been playing. I don't think as much as I thought I'd play, and especially, you've been traveling quite a bit. So, but I think there is a lot to catch up on, and there's a lot still coming. I mean, Doom is out in a week. I don't know how that snuck up on us. I thought that was like end of May. And now we've got things, filling the gaps for the rest of the year. You've got a Marathon coming out in September. You've got Ghost of Yote got an October release date. Borderlands 4 got a September release date.
Death Stranding 2 is next month.
June, yeah.
What?
Middle of June. Crazy. And then, June is also Summer Game Fest, where I bet we're going to... Now that GTA, if you haven't heard, somehow got delayed until May 26th, 2026, which I saw that. I saw that on... Reset Era pop-up, and I thought someone had, like, my brain immediately went May 26, 2025. I was like, whoa, like Take-Two is suddenly like shadow dropping this thing. But then turns out it's next year, which is quite an extensive delay, but it is what it is. I think you're going to see a lot of release dates pop out of nowhere for the end of the year.
And the Switch 2 is out next month. Is it June or July?
Right. Yeah, no, it's June. It's 5th of June. That's crazy.
Whole ass console.
Whole ass Mario Kart.
Nice.
So keen for that thing.
You need both.
Yeah. Very, very keen. I know, like, we never podcasted about it at the time, but I thought that Direct was kind of deflating. I got to the end of it and I turned to Shani and I was like, I don't know, I don't know if I'm going to buy this at launch. But since then, seeing a lot of the hands-on stuff, seeing a lot more of Mario Kart World, and how it's like a Forza Horizon with Mario Kart, I'm like, I'm in. I'm sold.
Say no more. Yeah,
say no more.
I think I said to you, the Skill Up did a video, because I was
did
very
watch that.
much,
It's
I
very
was very much in the same boat. I was like, I just expected more, and the fact that it's not an OLED, I was like, I'm not gonna wait for an OLED because obviously I'm gonna buy the Switch too. But I was a bit like, come on, man, like why did they not just launch his hands on? Because I mean, everyone's got their own preference of reviewer and opinions that line up with them, whatever. I think Skillup is probably lines up with a lot of people. Like he seems very impartial to me, anyway. He seems very like impartial, critical when needed. His hands on was like way more positive than I expected. I was like, he says the screen it's not an OLED screen, but it still looks really good, and he like raved about a couple things. Like, okay, like I'm feeling better. Like I will definitely get it at launch now.
Yeah,
So,
I thought his video was really useful for that. It got me quite excited. Digital Foundry also did like a sort of breakdown of certain things. I think all in all, like this console just seems way more powerful than people expected.
and
So
that's all I want. Honestly, my
yeah, I mean,
Switch is my first party Nintendo machine, obviously, but I play a lot of third party stuff on my Switch, and the OG Switch is tired, man. Like there's a lot of games I've not bought because I've read up and it's like, don't play this on Switch.
8 years old.
Yeah.
8 years old is a long time for a console. And even, when the Switch came out, it wasn't like cutting edge graphical tech because, Nintendo was trying to keep the cost down on this thing.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I think that was the other thing was when it was revealed and then there was that $450 price. I was like, oof, that's rough on the back of that direct. And I still think the price is hectic. I think locally in South Africa, it's a tough sell. It's 13,500 Rand for a Switch. And I think that is, if you go back to 2017, yes, 8 years ago, the Switch launched for $6,000. Like
half the price.
I think mentally people are going to struggle with that. But I do think the thing is just way more powerful. I know CD Projekt Red came out and said that the Switch 2 will be the best way to play Cyberpunk 2077 on the go, which is a big thing because it runs on the Steam Deck. Not well, but it runs on the Steam Deck. And so, if this thing is playing Cyberpunk on... They actually said it runs it better than the PS4 and Xbox One because it just has more like RAM. And so they won't run into a lot of the same issues they did on that. So it's crazy, This is a handheld console that can run Cyberpunk.
Yeah.
Nuts. I'm curious to see. I think there's going to be a lot of third-party support, especially now that publishers know just how big the Switch was. They're not apprehensive to put stuff on there. They're probably drooling to put stuff on there. So I think it's going to be a pretty strong launch for this console, even though there are some gaps in terms of first party, I think.
I think they'll be filled soon enough, though.
Yeah. I'm quite keen for that Donkey Kong. I think that looks really fun.
I'm not going to put money, but I would put money on there being a Mario end of this year, or early next year. No,
I don't think so, purely because the team that's doing Donkey Kong is the Mario Odyssey team.
Is that the Mario team? What? Okay, but there has to be another Mario somewhere.
I thought the same. I was like, oh yeah, definitely they're keeping it for the holiday. But maybe they got another team on it. I don't know. Nintendo's super weirdly secretive with like who works on what there. So the implication is that this is the Odyssey team because it was actually rumored a while back that this was happening.
Okay.
But maybe that team is big enough to do two things. Maybe another team is doing a 3D Mario. I found it very odd that wasn't a thing that was revealed. Considering Odyssey came out end of 2017. It's been a
lifetime
while.
ago.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe it comes out December. I don't know. I definitely think we're not going to get a Zelda for a while. For sure. Maybe we get another 2D one. Maybe there's all this talk maybe of one day having Link to the Past redone in a way of like Link's Awakening and Echoes of Wisdom, and I'm like sick. That would be amazing. We'll see. I think the Switch 2, I'm way more a month ago, not super keen on it. I'm super excited to get my hands on it next month.
Same.
Yeah.
Cool.
That has been episode 269. Nice. Of Checkpoint Chat.
Nice.
We're back. Happy to be back. And there's just lots to chat about. So I think you'll be hearing from us definitely not in just a month. You'll be hearing from us far sooner than that. But if you're here and listening, thank you for being so patient while we were gallivanting around in April, and we're happy to have you back, and we're happy to be back. So excited for the months ahead. It seems like it's going to be some good gaming times, and I think given the state of the world right now, it's good to have a little bit of escapism.
Games
even
are
if it's
the best.
going to cost a lot more money now. So
Still worth it.
Thank you so much for joining us. Stay safe, and we will see you next time. Okay, bye.
Goodbye.